You may know or not, but mannequins are one of Roberto Bigano's favorite subjects. He has taken pictures of them for years all over the world, and this plastic girl lives in Köln. The idea is to make her even more plastic, and ALCE may certainly help. I've prepared an ALCE 60 layer which I'm now going to make visible. Here's the effect. Quite amazing, isn't it? While the principle of ALCE is very different, the result has at least one thing in common with unsharp masking. That is, ALCE creates light and dark halos which are responsible for enhancing the contrast. Can we split the halos? Sure we can. We just need to make a copy of the ALCE layer. So, Layer menu, Duplicate layer. Let's now rename these layers Lighten and Darken. Both layers are identical, so we are apparently making the file bigger without reason. But that's because the blending mode for such layers is set to normal. We must change it, and I will therefore change the upper layer blending mode to Darken and the other to Lighten. Let's see what they do separately. This is the original. Let's now turn on the Lighten layer. Only the light halos are allowed to show, and indeed the whole image seems lighter. Original, ALCE in Lighten blending mode. Now, back to the original and let's see what Darken does. As expected, it does exactly the opposite, only the dark halos are added to the image. Original, ALCE in Darken blending mode. Now, if we make both layers visible, we will be back to the start. Both the light and dark halos become visible. This maneuver has a point though. It allows us to decide how much we want of the light and the dark halos. It depends on the picture, but most of the time you're going to like Darken mode better than Lighten. Yet you don't want to trash the light halos, you just want them to be less intrusive. So you may bring down the opacity to 50% maybe, and that's going to be it. Okay. Now you're going to notice that the green square in the top left corner has turned red, because I'm going to dive in deep waters and show you a rather complex technique, which you may like if you're after extreme effects, though. This is a very new technique I've invented and which I show here for the first time, so I hope you enjoy it. I first need to go back to normal, so let me bring the opacity of the Lighten layer back to 100%. I need to work on the two layers separately now, and I'll start with the Darken layer. So, deactivate the Lighten layer. I need to make a copy of what I see now, that is, one layer which contains the image and the dark halos merged. Photoshop has a sort of hidden command to do this, which is called Stamp Visible. It's not in the menus, but you may access it by holding the Alt key and choosing Merge Visible from the Layer menu. This creates a new layer, which is a flattened version of what you see. I will rename this layer Darkened. OK. Now, I want to isolate the halos somehow, and the easiest way to do it is deactivate the Darken layer and use the newly created layer to make a difference with respect to the original. In order to do this, we only have to change the top layer blending mode to Difference, and here's what happens. It seems completely useless, but it's not. On the contrary, we're going to Stamp Visible again because we need to isolate this image. Let's call the new layer Dark Difference. We may now trash the darkened layer. Now, Filter, High Pass. When the dialog window pops up, choose the same value as the radio you used, 60 in our case. And warning, the maximum value for this filter is 250. It's getting worse, huh? We're not finished yet. Now, invert the layer by choosing Image menu, Adjustments, Invert. And since we're going completely over the top, Image menu, Auto-Tone. Now, fill it with 50% gray in Darken mode. Edit menu, Fill, choose 50% gray, and Darken mode. This is the horrid result you get, but change the blending mode from normal to overlay. This is far too much, but if you drag the opacity down to, say, 50% or so, what you get is an extremely sculpted effect where the dark halos live. Notice the hair in particular. It takes up a shape which I think is impossible to obtain in any other way. You can, of course, do the same with the symmetric layer, the one derived from the ALCE layer in lighten mode. I won't show it here because the procedure is identical, but I'll give you a hint. Do not invert the layer you treat with the high-pass filter and use lighten mode rather than darken when you get to fill the layer with grey. Try it, it's fun. I'll just show you where you may get if you bring this far enough. This is quite extreme, but why not if you're in a creative mood? The important thing is not how far you push yourself, but if you're able to come back, and you always have the opacity that saves you. We've then learned to separate dark and light halos, and we've brought them far enough as you've just seen. We may then need a bit of fresh air maybe. So let ALCE climb the mountain now.